There you go, Dan.
Morning, John. Interesting times, in the NRL with one round to go. Pretty disappointing for your Dragons. We'll get to them a bit later, but my Bulldogs as well, a slip up from them, and they're now very, very slim chance of making the top four, and it's going to make their chances are greatly diminished of winning the premiership from outside the top four now. So unfortunately for both our teams, not a great weekend. And now looking ahead to the last round, we're looking at two games in particular. One in particular, really, that Knights-Dolphins game on Sunday, but also a side note, that Dragons-Raiders, there's the slimmest of chances for those two teams for the winner of that game. And what's going to happen is whoever wins that game on Saturday are going to just, in a bizarre scenario, they're going to momentarily go into the top 8 and then basically be sitting there hoping that the Knights and the Dolphins have a draw on Sunday to get into the top 8. So that's what it's come down to for the Dragons and the Raiders at this point.
Yeah, well, it's all right. We do have a sponsor.
Yeah, sorry. I digress.
Yes. We do have a sponsor, though. SmartB Sports Update Podcast is brought to you by Optimum CBD. Get all your premium CBD products from Optimum CBD for stress relief, pain management, sleep support, and general wellness. Head to OptimumCBD.store now. Spend $99 or more for free shipping. You must be over 18 years of age to order. Got some gummies here, they're really great.
Yeah, I could go for some of that wellness at the moment. I'm a bit under the weather myself. I might have to talk to you about that later.
Yeah, get some of the CBD. CBD's like a panacea. But yes, it was a disappointing and ridiculous game on the weekend for the Dragons, especially. That was absolutely bonkers. They broke a record for the highest score in a losing NRL game.
First team to ever score 40 points and lose a game. I read that was in NRL history, so I'm guessing that's 1998 onwards. Yeah. I'm not sure if that goes back to 1908.
No, it doesn't.
But certainly from 1998 onwards, that's a record that you wouldn't want, I would have thought. So.
No, it was absolutely ridiculous. And, it was 44 to 12 or whatever with 10
to go, yeah. I actually covered the game, and I was working with a Parramatta supporter he was filthy that Trent Barrett wasn't upset in the press conference. It was one of those games where you didn't want to be the winner or the loser. There were no winners out of that game. There really weren't. I mean, for Parramatta to lead 44-12 and concede 28 points in the last 10 minutes. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And in my opinion, I hope the Tigers win the Spoon Bowl because Parramatta deserved the spoon as far as I'm concerned.
There's a thing. There was a game years ago with, it was Knights versus Canberra that was Knights one that was 70 to 32. And in that game, Newcastle scored 4 tries in 7 minutes. And whenever I'm making fun of my friends, since then, it was so long ago, since then, when the team is 30 points down, I'll be like, don't worry, man, it's possible to score 4 tries in 7 minutes.
I think that 18 points in 10 minutes is doable. I did not think that 28 in 10 minutes was possible.
Exactly. Now I have a new one.
I actually remember going back to, the Super League year where the Bulldogs actually played the Hunter Mariners of all teams at Belmore on a Monday night.
I forgot they existed.
And the Bulldogs beat them 48-36. I remember the Hunter Mariners scoring 36 in a losing team. Certainly can't remember a team scoring 40 in a losing team.
Pathetic. It was... it was really bad, and it did break the top 8. Everyone was talking about the Dragons, fate is in their own hands, and obviously they couldn't. And so there is one other way that they can make the 8 aside from the draw, and it's to win by 100. And the Knights and the Dolphins to win by, or the Dolphins to win by 1. Well, actually, sorry, 125. So if the Dragons win by 126 and the Dolphins win by 1, the Dragons will win in the 8. And it's possible to score 28 points in
10 minutes. Yeah,
so,
it is. Yeah. If you work it out if you go by that, they're a chance.
So I'm happy with that. There's a chance. I'm holding on to that chance.
I think the issue. Yeah, I mean, it's conceivable that the game could go into Golden Point, the Knights and the Dolphins. But I think the issue for the Raiders and the Dragons is, or whoever wins that game, is going to be that, well, these are going to be two teams who a draw is no good to. So even if they do get to Golden Point, they both know that a draw for them is like a loss.
Yeah.
And they'll be going all out to win. They're not going to be playing it safe to get a 90-minute draw. A draw is like a loss for those teams. So you're going to have two teams who are going to be going all out for the winning, even if it does get to Golden Point. And so we're sort of clutching at straws for the Dragons and Raiders, I would have thought.
There's no chance, really. There's one draw a year.
No, well, that's the thing. There's only been one draw this year.
Yeah, there's only one draw a year.
And they're now not even... You look at on the betting websites at the Premiership odds. Obviously, we got them on SmartB, but they're not even giving odds for the Raiders and Dragons. Yeah. That's how... That's, it cuts off at 9 teams, the Premiership odds.
Yeah.
So the bookmakers have ruled out the Dragons and the Raiders at this point.
The other thing the Dragons are holding on to is that one of the teams in the top 8 get pinged for salary cap and all of their
well, hey, it's happened before.
Points get stripped.
Happened in 2002, happened in 2010.
It comes out that, one of the teams had the 14th man on the field and gets 2 points stripped.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was...
That's why, coming 9th, you leave yourself in with a chance of something like that.
Look, even if they had have won, actually, we had Vic comment on our last thing about how he's not confident the Dragons will make the 8. I think, actually, a lot of Dragons fans, and actually people in general were a little bit overconfident, because even if the Dragons had have won, the end result is, based on all the other games, they'd still be in the same situation now. Because if they had a won, they'd be on 30, but if they lost, they still wouldn't make the 8. If they lose against the Raiders, and Raiders would still be in the same situation now. So Dragons actually did need to win both games, no matter what, and they didn't. The Parramatta winning or losing had no effect on Parramatta. Actually, so if they won or lost, they were doing the spoon bowl anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But even if the Dragons had won, they actually had to win this week as well.
Yeah, because their for and against is so much worse than those other teams in similar positions.
And I kind of appreciate it. I think it's good, because that was one of the comments I saw during the week on some posts and stuff was a person pointed out, it is stupid if the Dragons make the 8 because of their differential. It would just be ridiculous to think that they could do anything with a minus 124 points differential, and they're in the 8.
And I think Vic even said if they did make the 8, they'd go out in the first
straight away.
Week
It doesn't
anyway.
matter. Not a single team in that top 8 that you would think the Dragons could beat, except possibly the injury-hammered Roosters.
This is going to be the issue for whichever team comes 8th. Most likely it'll be the winner of that Dolphins-Knights game. I think the Bulldogs, Cowboys and Manly are at a similar level, but I think then there's a jump to the 8th team. I think they're well above the 8th team. And that's why this Bulldogs-Cowboys game this weekend is very important. It's a playoff for 5th spot. We talk about the Dolphins-Knights is a playoff for 8th spot.
Yep.
The Spoon Bowl is a playoff not to come last. Bulldogs-Cowboys is a playoff for 5th. There's some mathematical distant chance the Bulldogs can make the 4. Let's forget about it. It's not realistic. It's a playoff for 5th.
They have to win by 70 or something.
Well, they'd have to win by a huge margin and hope Cronulla lose by a huge margin. It's not going to happen, especially with Tom Trbojevic not playing for Manly against Cronulla this week. But he should be back for the finals. Anyway. So very important for the Bulldogs and Cowboys, that game, because the winner gets, I think, a soft game against the 8th team, and then if they win, they get to play, the Roosters or the Sharks, most likely 3 or 4. The Roosters have just been massacred by injuries, and we've talked about the Sharks. They have an abysmal finals record. I went through it last week on the podcast. And I don't know what that was about, that game against the Warriors, a team not even in contention. The Sharks led 22-4 at halftime and got run down. What was all that about at home?
Sean Johnson.
You can't be doing that. And on Craig Fitzgibbons, he made some good points about the officiating, but come on, Craig. You led 22-4 against a team not even in contention at home, the Warriors, and you bombed that lead at home. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory was the what's it called? That was Sean Johnson's last game.
Yeah.
Because the Warriors.
And well done to him. And he had a hand in that winning try scored by Watenis.
The conspiracy theory was they had to let Sean Johnson win his last game because he didn't win his last home game. Because that was the Sean Johnson Bowl as well, because Sean Johnson played for the Sharks.
Yeah, he has. And well done to him too. Had a hand in that third try scored by Watenis Lesniak, the winning try in the last minute. Well done to Sean Johnson there. But just getting back to what I was saying before, so the loser of the Bulldogs-Cowboys, not only are they going to have to play Manly, which certainly the Bulldogs don't want to do that after what happened last week, but if Manly beat the Sharks, which I think probably won't happen given that Trebojevic won't play, but still it's a chance of happening. If Manly win that game, well, Manly will get that home final against the loser of the Bulldogs-Cowboys. So the loser of the Bulldogs-Cowboys, not only will they forfeit fifth spot, but they also may need to go to Brookvale. And I'll tell you what, if the Bulldogs couldn't beat Manly at home last week, they don't want to be going to Brookvale that first week of the finals.
No.
Because Trebojevic will be back for that game.
Bulldogs don't have the best away record this year.
No, so that there's no... We cannot underestimate the importance of that Bulldogs-Cowboys game. It's hugely important in the context of these teams' seasons. As I say, the door will open for whoever wins that game because of how vulnerable the Roosters and Sharks are. There's a real window to a prelim final for whoever wins that game. But whoever loses, well, there's a window to a first week exit because Manly could well get that home final and you've got to go to Brookvale and play against Manly.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Tom Trebojevic has an AC joint injury. It's funny, man, because with the AC joint injury, like, I was even talking about it last night, the more severe it is, the less it hurts, right? So it hurts a lot when you, no matter how severe it is, it hurts a lot when you first do it, basically the same level. So if it's a grade 1, 2, 3, and 4 when you first do it, and then the worse the severity of it is, the less it hurts later.
Right.
You know, not long after, like an hour after, it stops hurting, right? But the more severe it is, the less power you get, the more power you lose.
Right.
Okay, so I can't remember, what was it? Was it a grade 1?
The Trebojevic injury, we'll just look it up here. Well, whatever it is, he's likely to be back for the final, so it can't be too bad.
It must be a grade 1. So that means he can be needled up and play, and he'll probably need to be needled at halftime.
I'll just look at what Manly have said about it. So this is from Manly. This is from their club website. So scans today confirmed Tom Trebojevic suffered a grade 3 AC shoulder injury.
Grade 3.
He will miss next week's sold-out final round match against Cronulla at 4 Pines Park. That's Brookvale Oval for anybody who can't keep up with the sponsors' names like I can't. But we'll be back for week 1 of the finals.
So if he has a grade 3, it means he can't pass or tackle, basically.
Okay. So do you think if the finals had been next week, would he have played?
No. So
he's lucky then. He's lucky that they've got a week before the finals then.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue. Look, these professional athletes, you don't know how long they're going to take to repair and stuff like that. But a grade 3, he won't be able to pass well or tackle well. He'll have to be wrapped in cotton wool. I really wonder how much of an impact he can have on the game, even with when he plays next week.
In the finals.
Yeah, in the finals.
Okay, so if he's hampered by that, well, that leaves Manly in huge jeopardy of going any further than week 1 of the finals.
Because you're going to needle up a grade 3 on his AC, it'll still hurt. He won't have any strength. And if he impacts it, it'll... Yeah, I would have thought it'd be a grade 1 to let him play, but I guess it's the desperation, like Cooper Cronk playing with the broken arm. They just got to do what they got to do.
This is the risk they run by putting so much of their salary cap into him. When he's on the field and fit, he's among the best players in the competition, but he just gets injured so often.
Well, if they Manly Manly get the win, and then the Bulldogs or the Cowboys have to play them at home, they could just target Tom Trbojevic with heavy hits and hammer him with the ball all night and get one of those big forwards. Oh, I don't think Bulldogs really have a lot of good big big forwards running and make him tackle.
But I'll tell you what, if he can't have an impact on the game, that puts it in the Bulldogs or Cowboys' favour.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, regardless of where it is.
Yeah.
They could be playing at Brookvale Oval. If Tom Trbojevic can't have an impact on the game, well, the Bulldogs or Cowboys are favourites to win that game.
Because he won't be able to tackle or pass very well, so you get a forward to run at him. Like, just take whoever aside, one of their back rowers aside, and say your job is smash Tom Trbojevic. He's going to be out of the game pretty quick, really. Because he won't, like I say, he won't be able to tackle. Not very well. Cooper Cronk made 2 tackles in that grand final.
Yeah, he was basically a coach on the field.
Cooper Cronk is a very different animal to Tom Trbojevic. Although, the thing is, though, Tom Trbojevic will be able to run. Like, AC joined his shoulder. But then you also got to wonder about things like whether he'll be able to support and catch very well with a grade 3. Just how many needles can they stick in him to? Because even if he's got no pain, his arm won't move properly. He won't have the strength in his arm. So it's a really big thing, actually. They could be... So either way, basically, the Bulldogs or the Cowboys, whoever wins is going to play Manly, right?
Oh, no. So the winner of the Bulldogs-Cowboys will come 5th and play the 8th team.
Yeah.
The loser will either play Manly at home or away, depending on whether Manly beat Cronulla.
So either way, the loser plays Manly.
And the venue is determined by whether Manly beat Cronulla or not.
And so, they would have that's their best chance. And Manly's also without Saab as well, right?
Yes, they are. Jason Saab, I've just got it in front of me here. Saab will had scans on a high ankle sprain, expected to miss a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to say that Manly are probably the least likely to get into the second round of the finals based on that Tom Trbojevic injury and the loss of Saab.
So
either way,
because that's the thing about Trbojevic. It's one thing for him to be playing; it's another thing for him to have an impact on the game.
Exactly.
And you seem to think that he won't have much impact on the game.
Grade 3 AC is terrible, man. He won't be able to pass in. Like I said, maybe even receive. There'll be difficulty in it. You gotta wonder about how much control he can have over the ball when he is holding it and getting hit and tackles and stuff like that as well. You lose a lot of strength in your AC when you damage your AC. Worse it is, the less it hurts, but the more strength you lose. Or the weaker your arm gets. So,
and so Manly obviously don't think that they're getting value for money out of him, because either they went to him and asked him to go to the NRL to take that pay cut, or he went to them and they didn't stop him from going to the NRL to ask. It's either one of them. So Manly obviously don't think they're getting value for money out of him.
Tom Trbojevic should find a personal trainer that's specific for him, that's totally built around fixing and preventing injuries, strength and conditioning for preventing injuries. I know Manly's not allowed to pay for it because it'll be salary cap, but if he wants to give some money back or whatever, that's what he needs to do in the off season. Find a person who can build a strength and conditioning program around him specifically to prevent injuries, because there's this is a thing, right? So the knees over toes guy is pretty famous. The whole thing is he had 7 surgeries on his knees or something like that, and was told he'd never play basketball again, and so on and so forth. And so he invented a program to strengthen his knees, and he qualified for college basketball, but then they wouldn't let him do his program as part of the training.
Yeah.
So he decided not to play basketball. But you can go on Instagram and check him out. He like dunks and stuff like that. Like he's plays for fun because he prefers it. So his whole shtick is walking backwards with a sled or doing squats and lunges where your knees go in front of your toes and stuff to strengthen the muscles around the ligaments in your legs. And so there are things like that Tom Trbojevic could do. Like look at things like that, like knees over toes type programs for his legs. There are different like things specifically built around him. And that's one of the things about like personal trainers. If you have a good one, they build the program around you. And so if Tom Trbojevic wants to give back to his club, he should go to the club and go, hey, I'm willing to spend $100 or $300 a week or whatever on this guy who's going to do my personal training. I'll still come to my other training, but this guy is going to specifically build me up, make me so I don't get injured as much. Because that's what strength and conditioning is. And he should get on the CBD gummies with Optimum CBD.
Yeah, he should too. Get on the Optimum CBD, Tom. But I mean, that having been said, I mean, Manly, I mean, they've signed him to this deal on this money. They knew the risk they were taking with it. So it's, you sort of don't have any sympathy. Sympathy for. They knew what they were doing. They entered into the agreement knowing that he was injury prone. And they went ahead with it anyway.
And so that's the kind of thing about the personality of clubs, right? Manly is well known for not being able to manage their salary cap. The Tigers are well known for having constant leagues to the press and hating the Western Tigers hating each other. But yeah, like you don't feel any sympathy for them. I feel sympathy for the Tigers. But for Manly, it's like they've known about it. It's 2024 now. When did it was like
2011 was their last premiership.
And when did they start? When was Des there? When was their first one in the modern era?
So they won in 08.
Yeah, so the 07 they played Melbourne as well, right? Yeah. So around that time, since at least that time, they've had this like propensity to screw up their salary cap, back into deals of Anthony Watmo on $1 million in his fourth year and so on and so forth. So yeah, you're right. You don't have any sympathy for them. And you get these coaches that come in. Again, they've had 4 coaches now. 4 coaches since Des Hasler, and Des Hasler was one of them as well. He came back for a while, right?
He went back. He went to Canterbury and then he went back to Manly.
So they've had 4 coaches, and they continue with the same kind of behaviour.
And that's the thing. You can't blame Tom Trbojevic. I mean, the club's willing to pay him huge money. Well, he's going to sign the contract. It's not his fault. Anybody would. I'm not blaming him at all. Good on him. Good luck to him. If someone's willing to pay you over $1 million a year and you just happen to get injured a lot, well, good luck to you. Good luck to Tom Trbojevic.
Absolutely.
I just can't believe Manly would put themselves in that salary cap position. And look, obviously, Tom Trbojevic is a superstar. Daly Cherry Evans is a superstar. There's no two ways about it. But the reality is that this club hasn't won a premiership since 2011. So, you can really question the management of their salary cap. A club that has gone now 13 years without winning a premiership using this model. Obviously something's not right there. Otherwise, that they'd have far more success in recent times.
And then, because of it, like what we're actually talking about, and because in the segue into Manly, is this top 8 implication where they've made the 8, but, in my opinion, people can bag me on the internet all they want, because they've wrapped up so much money in someone like Tom Trbojevic and have that history of doing it, even if he plays, like they're basically like requiring him to play even with this grade 3 AC injury, because without it, they're definitely going to lose.
Yeah.
Put him in there and you risk him. Like, what the worst that can happen is it can go to grade 4. Yeah, that's basically it. And
and if that were to happen, how long would that keep him?
I don't know about AC joints, actually, to be honest.
Right. But he'd be back for round 1 next year, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I don't think they're complete healing would take like between 4 to 6 weeks. Right. Full separation, 6 weeks. No way, so up to 12. Yeah, so 3 months.
So he'd be back for round
So you got to also take into account the difference between a normal person who's not on Optimum CBD and these professional athletes, right? So up to 6 months is the normal person. Like if you did your AC joint grade 4 according to this random website. Okay, so up to 6 months for a grade 4 may require surgery. But for a professional athlete, you know, normally knock 25% off.
We've got the solution. Optimum CBD.
Exactly. Get on it, Tom. I don't know if they're allowed, actually. They should be allowed. It's not illegal or anything. I know, if they were allowed to take BPC 157, that the big pharma didn't get BPC 157 killed, he'd be back much quicker, because BPC 157 is like a peptide that actually is like a miracle drug, but it's been scheduled because Big Pharma saw a reduction in anti-inflammatory medicine.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing in America and stuff. BPC 157 has now been killed, but if they used to not be banned, and athletes could take it, and it really that's a miracle drug. For muscle and joint strains and stuff like that. Anyway, it was a great time over the weekend as well, because a bunch of coaches had some fun.
I'll tell you what, there was some fireworks.
The Kevin Walters one was definitely the funniest one.
So he snapped back at that journalist.
Was that James Hoover?
I'm not. To be honest, I'm not. I did watch the presser, but I'm not sure. You hear the voice. I really think they should. Journalists in press conferences should have a microphone. You just hear them as background noise giving these questions. You never know who the journalist is.
And in the UFC, they do the press conference. Yeah. That's what they do. They give the microphone.
The journalist should have a microphone. Yeah. You want to hear the question clearly. That's
because it's not any
because it gives context to the answer.
If you hear the question. They hit us hard. They hit us hard, and they were really good up the middle. What did he ask?
So now the journalists in that Kevin Walters press conference after that terrible loss to the Dolphins by the Broncos,
smashed.
Absolutely thrashed. The journalists seemed irritated by Kevin Walters. They seemed as though they'd had enough. Yeah. And they really put the heat on him. And good on them. He basically said, that's not us. And the journalist basically said, look, you've said that again. You've said that a number of times, but you've trotted out a number of performances like this year. The journalist had basically had enough of what Walters was saying. There was basically, it was all talk, no action. So what happened was the journalist said, well, look, this has happened a number of times, Kevin, a number of times this year. And then Walters said, oh, look, I wouldn't say that. And then the journalist said, oh, well, what about the Bulldogs game? That was pretty bad. And then he said, oh, it wasn't great, but what do you think? You seem to know a lot about everything. No, don't be a smart aleck. The journalist was just pointing out that this has happened a number of times before this season. He couldn't handle the heat being put on him, so he had to get personal with the journalist and say, oh, you know a lot about everything. Yeah. That's just ridiculous.
I know he pointed out the Bulldogs game where Broncos got smashed 41-16. Week after that, Broncos got smashed 46-18 by the Titans.
Yeah, so the journalist could have mentioned that as well.
Yep, they got beat by the Warriors 32-16. The Titans beat them twice this year. I didn't realise that. 40-18 against the Roosters. It's 34-12 against the Panthers in that grand final rematch in round 3. It has happened a number of times this year, and it was a fair question because Kevin Walters constantly says, it's not us, I don't know what, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, dude, it's happening a lot.
Yeah, well, this is it. And we know he said the week before there were no ifs about it, the Broncos would be playing in the finals. Mm-hmm. So they now can't make the finals, so he lied to his supporters. He said they were going to be playing in the finals, and now they're not.
That's why you should never give absolutes. Only the sifty.
No, that's the thing. The silly thing is, he didn't have to say it like that. He could have just said, look, the odds might be against us, but we're going to be doing everything we possibly can in order to qualify for the finals. He could have said it like that, but he didn't. He said, there's no ifs about it. We will be playing in the finals. If you put that out there and it doesn't happen, well, journalists are going to come hard at you, and that's the nature of the beast. I'm sorry.
Only the Sith deal in absolutes, Star Wars.
And now we look at his record at the Broncos since he is taken over. Now, 2021, they finished 14th under his leadership, under his guidance. 2022, they finished 9th. 2023, we know they had the premiership and lost it. the premiership trophy was snatched out of their hands by Nathan Cleary. 2024, we now know they've missed the finals. So in 4 seasons, he's missed the finals 3 times at a powerhouse club like the Broncos. I would argue, in my opinion, that's not good enough, and I think he should be sacked at the end of the season.
Well, the mail or the rumours around is now he's going to have the first 12 rounds next year.
And I think that's generous.
Yeah, I think so. Well, every year we have a coach getting sacked. Like we've discussed it before, 17th worst coach in the NRL always gets sacked. Doesn't mean they're a bad coach, but Gordon Tallis bagging Michael Maguire, which we'll get to.
That's coming up too.
Getting sacked. Every single coach in the NRL has basically been sacked.
Yes.
But yeah, the Broncos are going to be looking at this situation next year. Will they sack him in the middle of the year? Who knows? But I'm sure if they're not on top of the ladder, like in the top 4 round 12 next year, they're gonna. And the reason it's round 12, one of the things I was reading was the reason it's round 12 is because of that stat where no team, except for the Rabbitohs after round 11, has led the competition and not made the 8. So it's kind of that thing. They're getting them to that point where, all right, this is the cutoff, historically speaking, where over round 12, you're in the 8, you'll definitely be in the 8. But, I'd say it's fair because 3 out of 4, he's been 4 years, 3 out of 4 missed the finals.
Yeah. Yeah, and Gordon Tallis has been, and we're going to get to what Gordon Tallis had his exchange with Buzz Rothfield on NRL 360 last night. We're going to get to that in a second. But Gordon Tallis has been having a go at Adam Reynolds. He thinks that Adam Reynolds hasn't been vocal enough in his support of Kevin Walters. When Gordon Tallis is obviously a mate of Kevin Walters.
He sticks up for him all the time.
Gordy, do you not realise that the coach needs to take some responsibility here? He's been there 4 years and missed the finals in 3 of those years at a powerhouse club. And so what? He just thinks the players... Why is it Adam Reynolds' job to support the coach? That's the board's job. That's the CEO's job to give public support of the coach. A player's job is just to play, isn't it?
To be honest, if I was a coach, I don't want the support of the board or the players because as soon as that support comes out, you're sacked 3 weeks later.
But of all the things that Gordon Tallis could have said, yet again, we get a situation where he's mates with him, so he's never going to bag him, of course. He's never going to bag Kevin Walters because he's mates with him. There's any number of things he could say about Kevin Walters' performance as coach, but I'm going to have a go at Adam Reynolds because he's not supporting him.
Yeah, look, it's...
Oh, come on, what? All right, maybe have a go at the CEO or the chairman or the board.
Well, as Craig Gower said, those guys never get anything because they use the coach to hide the fact that they made a mistake, I don't know if Kevin Walters was a mistake. I think the Broncos have been on a downward slide since Wayne Bennett left the first time. And, look, that's the Wayne Bennett MO. We know that. The Broncos have been on a downward slide since Wayne Bennett left the first time, not playing consistently. They've been through multiple coaches. They've been through a variety of different players. Wayne Bennett went to the Dragons and the same thing been going on for, 13 years with them. It's basically been going... Like, prior to Wayne Bennett leaving the Broncos, they'd never missed the 8. Post Wayne Bennett leaving the Broncos, they got a wooden spoon, yeah?
The year after?
Oh, I don't think it was the year after. It was... do
you mean more recently?
Yeah.
They have a recent wooden spoon. I think it might have been 2020, but I'm going to check that. One wooden spoon for the Broncos. It was in 2020.
Yeah, so they went for 20 odd years or whatever without.
And that was after Bennett left. Yeah,
and then it's taken them they're still going 13 years later. That is, look, there is a kind of thing where you think about it, how long are they going to blame Wayne Bennett 13 years, or actually 16 years later? They're still going, but it's. I have. That's one of those things where I feel sympathy for the Broncos. Because I'm a Dragons fan, and the Dragons fan are 13 years later and still on that Wayne Bennett hangover. They just can't correct it. Because when you get on that downward slide, look at the Tigers. You can't get out of it. And no matter what you change, Tigers have changed everything now. They are the ship of Theseus. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
They've changed coaches, players, management, board, everything.
Yeah.
And they're still in this situation. And so, yeah, like it's... Wayne Bennett's fingerprints aren't on the current, actually on the current one, the fingerprints, the current Broncos situation. They've all worn away, but it does historically go back to that.
And look, Gordon Tallis and Phil Rothfield both weren't happy with Reynolds because what happened was Billy Walters, Kevin's son, had a radio gig with Triple M in Brisbane. Now, he quit that radio gig because he wasn't happy with how the station were critical of his dad's performance as coach. And so Rothfield and Tallis are not happy that Reynolds has just gone in and replaced Walters, and they feel like he should have said, "Oh no, I'm standing behind the coach. I'm not taking that position." Why don't Rothfield or Tallis realise that, maybe they wouldn't be criticising Kevin Walters if they had better results on the field, and maybe the criticism that Triple M are making of Kevin Walters is justified?
What? Yeah, well, the team has failed to make the 8.
They're not getting results.
Criticism.
They're not getting results. Now, Kevin Walters isn't quite Ricky Stewart in terms of being a koala bear, protected species, but I'll tell you what, he's getting pretty close. He's got a lot of mates who protect him in the media.
Yeah, the difference is between Kevin Walters and Ricky Stewart is Kevin Walters also has a bunch of guys that aren't his mates. That's his problem, because it will be guys like whoever that reporter... Ricky Stewart would never get hammered like that.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, 100%.
There are some people who
there would never be a reporter who would take Ricky to task like
that. If Ricky said that's not us, the reporter will go, "Yeah, you're right, Ricky."
Yeah, because Ricky's smart enough not to attack the reporter like Walters did. Ricky's smart enough to go so hard on another subject to give the reporters what they want, which is some other story, that they leave him alone.
So Kevin Walters has his supporters like Gordon Tallis, and then, if Kevin Walters does get sacked next year, obviously there's a few coaches in the wings. Trent Barrett's one. Jamie Soward, apparently, he's been sacked as well. But Michael Maguire has been tossed up as a possible replacement. And Gordon Tallis, of course, has had something to say about that.
Yeah, so what happened on NRL 360, this was the exchange. Now, Phil Rothfield last night suggested Michael Maguire could take over as Broncos coach. Of course, Gordon Tallis wasn't happy with that. Not only does he have a personal feud with Michael Maguire, but he really doesn't like the idea of a New South Wales coach taking over a powerful Queensland club. And so... that's what happened. Rothfield threw it out there. Well, Michael Maguire could take over. Tallis fired back at him, wasn't happy. We don't need a New South Wales coach coaching a Queensland team. Well, I mean, you'd think he'd learn from Walters. I mean, maybe Kevin Walters wasn't the best person for the job. Tallis lobbied for Walters to be the coach. And now look how that's turned out for the Broncos. 3 of his 4 seasons, they've missed the finals. So you'd think... maybe Tallis would have learned from that, but no. He's just going to blindly back his mate, and we'll just see the Broncos keep struggling along here.
That is the most ridiculous statement or thing, Gordon Tallis mental gymnastics in years. We don't need a New South Wales person coaching a...
typical for Queenslanders to let their state bias get in the way of something like that.
Is Todd Payton a Queenslander? No,
he's a New South Welshman.
Well, then we don't need him coaching the Cowboys.
He's done a good job at the Cowboys too.
Is John Cartwright a Queenslander? No, he's not. He's on the New South Wales coaching staff, but he coached the Titans. I think Des Hasler's a Queenslander, right?
No. He's from New South Wales.
Oh, there you go. You don't need.
It's just silly.
Mental gymnastics.
Surely you would want the best person for the job.
Yeah. Exactly. Whether it's a Queensland person... Oh, yeah, he did. He does have some New South Wales. Whether it's a Queenslander or not is irrelevant in clubland. Gordon Tallis, it's mental gymnastics. How many Queenslanders are currently coaching New South Wales teams? Wayne Bennett is at the Dolphins, but going to South Sydney and... shouldn't be, because we don't need a Queenslander coaching a proud New South Wales team.
Yeah.
Like, what nonsense. It's just such a stupid thing to say.
Yeah. So don't entertain the thought of getting the best possible candidate. Yeah. Keep backing Kevin Walters and keep missing the finals.
Yeah.
Just keep going with that, Gordy. You're not doing your former club any favours.
You don't need a New South Welshman coaching Queensland. I agree with that. But it's an irrelevant thing, and it's just another one of those misdirections.
Yeah, they're club size. Yeah. It's not...
It's just another one of those misdirections to avoid the fact that Kevin Walters has been not so good this year, and possibly on the out next year. And the Broncos need to hire the best possible coach. Is Anthony Seibold a Queenslander? I know Ivan Henjack.
I'll look that up.
Who was the other one? Anthony Griffin.
Seibold. Oh yeah, born in Rockhampton.
Yeah.
Anthony Seibold.
If Brisbane is going to sit there and go like, we're only gonna get a Queenslander, and they're just going to miss out on the best possible coaches available. Maybe that's one of their problems.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. The only reason Tallis backs Walters under any circumstances is because he's mates with him.
Yeah,
that's it. You look at the facts of the matter. You look at their results under him. There's no justification for him continuing as coach next year.
And there's no problem with, I don't, as a New South Welshman, I don't want Michael Maguire going to the Broncos because I want him to continue to coach New South Wales.
Yeah, and look, I know it would have been different if the Broncos had won the premiership last year, but they didn't. They didn't win it. They lost. That's it. It doesn't matter how close you get. If you don't get there, nobody cares.
It's another one of those things where they'll use it. Yeah, well, he came within 17 minutes of winning a grand final. Yeah. And the immortal words of Dom, it doesn't matter if you win by a metre or a mile, winning's winning.
Yeah, and Brad Pitt in Moneyball said, if we don't win the last game of the season, they'll dismiss us.
Yeah. What's it called? You're either first or you're last, is another one, It's irrelevant to come second. What do you get for coming second? You actually get nothing. You get something for winning the minor premiership, but you come second you don't win the minor premiership. Broncos didn't win the minor premiership. No, Panthers did. So they didn't win the minor premiership last year, and they come second in the grand final. They actually got nothing.
But I don't think the Broncos...
No, I think it came down to...
let me check that. Yeah, the Panthers won the minor premiership last year.
Yeah.
Broncos finished second.
And because it was one of those things where everybody realised the Panthers really take a lot of stock in the minor premiership because they had the option to rest players in that last round, I think, and they didn't. They went for the minor premiership. So the Broncos have actually... Look, coming second in a grand final is a zero-sum achievement. It's nothing.
No.
The Broncos have won nothing under Kevin Walters.
No.
They had... I'm trying to work out the math now. 63 minutes. The other 17 minutes of it was Nathan Cleary. Anyway, Gordon Tallis is just... It's such mental gymnastics how he goes out of his way to come up with these silly things that are irrelevant to defend Kevin Walters. Queenslanders shouldn't coach Broncos just because they're Queenslanders. The best person for the job needs to coach the Broncos.
Now, I'll tell you what we are. Paul Kent is on our rundown again today. I really wish he didn't get in the squabble he got in and got himself sacked, because I really wish he was still co-hosting that show instead of Gordon Tallis.
There are a lot of complaints about Gordon Tallis.
And rightly so.
Yeah. Still on coaches. It's another week of the coaches, to be honest.
Yes, we're getting to your Dragons. Jeez, it was eventful.
This is so funny. On the rundown, Kevin Walters, Gordon Tallis, Shane Flanagan, Trent Robinson, Craig Fitzgibbons, Ivan Cleary, Brad Fittler, who's the next coach.
Yes.
That press conference for the Dragons was hilarious to me. Shane Flanagan walked out.
Yeah, he walked out.
44 seconds.
He walked out very quickly.
The 44 was the score. I think it was 48 seconds or something.
He walked out pretty quickly into it. He wasn't there for
because it was ridiculous. He said it was ridiculous. The game was ridiculous.
I think he might have spoken for maybe just under 5 minutes, maybe, but it was short. It was short.
It was ridiculous. So they asked him questions. Ben Hunt was there. And then he got out and said, "No, I can't do it anymore."
Now, I just thought...
I thought it was so funny.
Again, we talked about it just before, but the Eels, for anyone who didn't see the game, the Eels led 44-12 with 10 minutes to go. Somehow the Dragons got back to 44-40, and they actually because there was so little time on the clock, they declined the kick at goal because obviously if they took the kick at goal, the clock would have run out and they wouldn't have got one more play to win. So they declined the kick at goal. They had one more play to win. Now, I don't know what Ben Hunt was thinking on that play. I would have thought, I mean, wouldn't you, if you got one play to win off the kickoff, don't you just bomb it high in the air and see what happens? Isn't that your best? I'm surprised teams don't do that more often. Just bomb it up in the air and good luck.
Just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Chip and chase.
You got one play. You got a kick, don't you?
Yeah,
you're not going to win going through the hands.
No, it was an over-reliance on, like, you know, the running of players like Zach Lomax.
And I mean, I think he did try and kick Ben Hunt, but it was just the wrong sort of kick. It was a poorly attempted kick. It just didn't work.
Well, what they should have done was gone for a 2-point field goal from 80 metres. Like, it would have been as effective, yeah. They really should have just, put up the big...
kick... Oh, yeah, right.
Straight off the kickoff. Catch it past the Ben Hunt, go for a 2-point field goal, even though there's no chance. Because what they put up on that last play was pointless and redundant. And like I said, I thought it was hilarious when Shane Flanagan walked out.
And not only that,
he apologised to the press and the fans.
He was seen tearing into Ben Hunt on the TV cameras in the dressing room as well. Now, it's sparked some murmurs that, well, how long's Ben Hunt still going to be there? He's contracted for one more year now. We got to bring it up again. There've been a lot of question marks over Ben Hunt's performances under pressure. Who can forget that 2015 grand final? You know, this was another instance where the Dragons, with their season on the line here, and he failed to deliver in that game against a lowly opponent. Remember, the Eels are going to be playing in Spoon Bowl this week.
It's sold out, by the way.
It is sold out, yes. I don't mean to diminish Spoon Bowl, but you get my point.
It's sold out. It's an exciting game. Everyone's going to be eagerly watching it.
But you know, this is the thing. Flanagan was very animated. He really didn't look happy with Ben Hunt. And I can't blame him. This criticism of Ben Hunt, it's got to be there. You know, he's the general in this team, and they're not going to be playing finals again this year.
He was a turnstile in defence. He missed tackles. He just didn't look like he wanted to be there. It was shocking. My favourite TikTok personality, Hectic Fred, he posted videos during the thing, and all he could do was like hammer videos of Ben Hunt missing tackles. I don't know what the stat was. I could check it right now, but the thing was he missed tackles that led to tries. Yeah, and like long range, silly ones, you know. So I think that whatever Shane Flanagan was saying to him was it was warranted.
That's the thing. I don't know if Flanagan was blowing up at him about the last play. I'm not sure, but
so he
clearly wasn't happy about something.
He had 2 missed tackles and 2 ineffective tackles. The worst was Max Figai, and you know the what's his name? Michaeli Ravalawa was just carved up by Mike Acevo, like just carved up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fair because Ben Hunt was having a shocker.
And this is the issue with Ben Hunt is, again, he's the chief playmaker and his team are not, they're not going to be playing finals again. So Flanagan's sitting back going, well, if we're not playing finals with him, well, are we better off, letting his contract run out, letting him go somewhere else and looking elsewhere for another playmaker?
The end result is he'll finish up next year or whatever and then go to the Dolphins or Titans. Like that's to be like a senior playmaker there and play his last contract out. But yeah, the press conference was hilarious, and Shane Flanagan walking out, I just started laughing.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned that Parramatta supporter I was working with the other night who was not happy with how pleased Trent Barrett was with the win. Now, obviously, Trent Barrett doesn't care because he's about to leave the club.
Yeah, the whole club.
I don't think, to be honest, to be fair, it didn't reflect well on Trent Barrett. He should not have been happy with that at all. To lead 44-12 with 10 minutes to go and allow the other team to get back to 44-40 and have a play to win it at the end, that's not acceptable at first grade level, and Trent Barrett should not have been happy with it, and that, I think, is reflective of a cultural problem at Parramatta, that they would still be happy after a win like that. that was a game where neither coach should have been happy at the end.
And
there were no winners out of that game.
Yeah, I don't think
there were no winners.
I don't think Trent Barrett cares, and I think Trent Barrett knows he's probably never going to get another full-time job. So
he doesn't care, but it doesn't reflect well on him, in my opinion. It makes him look unprofessional, in my opinion. That he would be happy with that win.
We all know Trent Barrett isn't the most professional of coaches, given what happened at Manly, where he basically was told you're out, and then he said, "Well, I'm going to turn up to work anyway." They signed Des Hasler and told him, like, you're out, you're done, you're fired.
Yeah, the Eels were within a whisker of suffering the most humiliating defeat in the history of the game.
See, that would have been even funnier. And I'm sure Shane Flanagan still would have walked out the press conference.
Yeah, I don't think, even if the Dragons had a one... And look, to be fair, at least Flanagan showed that his reaction in the press conference, where he basically said... No, he even said... Flanagan's quote was quoted in the press conference as saying, "Look, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it was good that we came back and we lost by 4. No, that first half wasn't good enough." Yeah. At least he cared. He showed that it wasn't acceptable. Barrett was pleased with that, and who knows why. Flanagan came out of that a lot better than Barrett did in my books.
Gives us hope for next year for the Dragons. And then, so the Canberra Roosters got smashed, like not in the points wise, but injury wise. Severe injury was suffered to go. Brandon Smith was taken out of the game by Elliot Whitehead.
So a number of injury problems for the Roosters out of this game.
They got 2 ACLs and an AC.
Yeah, Sam Walker suffered a non-contact left ACL rupture. He'll undergo reconstructive surgery later in the week.
Gone 9 to 12 months.
Brandon Smith sustained a contact right MCL and ACL injury. He'll be initially braced, and a decision will be made in the coming weeks regarding operative management.
4 to 6 months.
That's the line out of the club. And Victor Radley suffered a fracture to his left scapula.
Yeah, they thought it was an AC joint, and then it ended up being a fracture.
He will commence non-operative management and will be reviewed by a shoulder specialist. So this is a real... This has come at a huge cost to the Roosters. This loss
you'd have to say the
Raiders.
Roosters season is basically over to lose their halfback, their Brandon Smith. I don't know what he is, a hooker or a back row or whatever, and Victor Radley. Huge losses. Victor Radley's really cleaned up his game over the year, but Elliot Whitehead walked over to the Roosters after the game to apologise to
Trent
Robinson for the injury to Brandon Smith.
Yes.
I believe it was Brandon Smith.
Yes.
And Trent Robinson had a go at him.
Yeah, Trent Robinson basically said to him, Whitehead went over and said, "Look, I'm sorry about this." And Trent Robinson basically said, "Look, it's happened too many times. I don't accept your apology."
Yeah, that's the douchiest thing I've ever heard.
Well, especially considering that he's got Jared Warrior-Hargreaves and Victor Radley in his team, who gets suspended every other week.
Somebody sent it to me. You know how many times Elliot Whitehead's been done for a hip drop tackle in his career? It's like 2 to 3 times. And that included that one on the weekend. The other thing that Elliot Whitehead did was where he kicked at the ball, which was silly. But it was Trent Robinson's like, what the...
Yeah, I think Trent Robinson...
Glass houses, bro.
That, and I think he's a sore loser. I really think he can't handle losing.
100%.
He really can't. There's something... He's not a gracious loser. I think it's frustration with losing more than anything. This is deflected rage. I think if the Roosters had have won, I think his response would have been a lot more gracious. Look, okay, it wasn't great what happened, but I accept your apology. We'll move on. I think that's what would have come out of him if the Roosters had have won. I think he's reacted that way. It's sour grapes after they were beaten by
and he continued it into the press conference where he said, and then Elliot Whitehead obviously had his response, which was measured and mature. Basically, like you said, Trent Robinson's had a tanty about losing and taking it out on Elliot Whitehead, who is, he's been charged a few times and stuff, but he's not a bad guy from what I can see. Stuff happens.
Yeah, and look, things got quite heated on NRL 360 last night. Brent Reid, talking about this, said Trent Robinson was lucky that Elliot Whitehead didn't put one on his chin. So obviously there's some bad blood between Brent Reid and Trent Robinson there, because we know what Brent Reid's like. He says nice things about the people who look after him, and he'll only criticise people who don't give him the scoops he wants or look after him with stories.
Yeah.
That's how he operates. A you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours operator. That's what he is. So we obviously know that's where that's coming from. There's bad blood between him and Robinson.
Are you an adult? People don't just punch people, man. You shouldn't encourage it. Elliot Whitehead did the right thing by going, okay, just whatever, man. Okay, you doofus. Trent Robinson is seriously just having a big tanty, and as I said, he continued it in the press conference with unfounded claims that this is a common thing with Elliot Whitehead when it's not, and it's just ridiculous.
So can I just add to this? Now I came across an article from James Hooper talking about the Raiders, and he says this. He says the Raiders deserve enormous credit for the way they've staged back-to-back upset wins over heavyweight title contenders, the Roosters, and triple premiers Penrith. But the storyline is the war of words in the aftermath, referring to this Whitehead-Robinson situation. Now, can I just say, the Raiders beat Penrith without Nathan Cleary. The Raiders have beaten the Roosters when Smith, Walker and Radley all went down injured. What are the chances of the Raiders making the top 8? There's a chance, but what is it, 1,000,000 to 1 at this point? Is it fair to say that? It's 1,000,000 to 1? Now, if the Raiders don't make the top 8, who cares about these wins they've had over the... Are these wins they've had over the Panthers and Roosters going to mean anything if they don't make the top 8?
Remember?
No, they're not. They're not going to mean anything.
It's so stupid.
So this protection racket around Ricky continues. Again, no one's going to care. Again, the Raiders, there's a very slim chance that they make the finals. So let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
But if they don't make the finals... who cares about these wins they've had over the Panthers and the Roosters?
And just to remind everybody, they have to beat the Dragons and the Dolphins and Knights have to draw.
Yes.
To make the fun.
Yes. And so what are the chances of that?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And I say that, but I said last week it's not going to happen that the Dragons miss it.
Yeah, look, look, let's revisit it next week, shall we? Let's see if the Raiders make the 8. Let's give them a chance this week. And if they don't make it, well, we're going to talk about it next week.
The review for the year for the Raiders will be they missed the 8, but they beat the Roosters and the Panthers. And they missed the 8.
It's unbelievable. And those wins, if they don't make the top 8, those wins are not going to mean anything.
It doesn't matter who you beat if you don't make the top. The Titans beat the Broncos. They're not making the 8. It's so irrelevant.
But yeah, the Roosters are in all sorts of trouble now.
I think that's basically their season. They don't have the cover to cover those. Does anyone really have the cover to cover their hooker, best back rower, and halfback? No team to go into the finals. Well, during the year, but not in the finals.
I've even got it here. No side has won an NRL Grand Final without their first choice halfback. And so without Sam Walker, the Roosters are in dire straits.
Yeah. That'll be another year of what-ifs for the Roosters.
But that's why I say there's a real opening for the Bulldogs or the Cowboys there with the... with the Roosters and Sharks. The Roosters now severely undermanned and the Sharks with a terrible finals record, not showing great form after they let the Warriors come back and win the other night.
More on coaches.
Yes.
Fitzy and Ivan Cleary are unhappy with the number of stoppages. I tend to agree with them.
I agree with them wholeheartedly.
100%. I cannot get... everything about me is on board with this. It's the number one complaint. The two things that the internet sentiment is inconsistency and stoppages. They're the two biggest complaints. Inconsistency, stoppages. And the stoppages come from the inconsistencies. So it's one of the things I saw was stoppages based on the players laying down as well, seeking those 6 agains, those penalties, those stoppages. And they have to fix that. It's so boring and dumb. What are we going to turn into NFL? We'll turn into the Super Bowl?
Yeah. You might turn on the odd game with about 10 minutes to go, And it feels like you're sitting there for half an hour waiting for them to get through 10 minutes of play because they got a stoppage for this captain's challenge, or a stoppage to go up to the bunker, or a stoppage to look at an incident because somebody stayed down, or a stoppage because somebody's got to go off for a HIA. There's just stoppage after stoppage after stoppage, and Craig Fitzgibbons and Ivan Cleary had enough. They both said that this has gone too far, and I couldn't agree more with them. They need this, and I did write a column about it on our website last week. They need to start thinking about, is it really... The game, above all, needs to be about entertainment. Stopping the game all the time for these various reasons I've just outlined is not entertaining for the fans.
No, it's so boring. I think I've said before, that's the big problem with watching the NFL. And, when I watched the Super Bowl, I was with someone. I said, "You want to leave at third quarter?" There was 20 seconds to go, and 15 minutes later, we were still there. So many stoppages, and that's what the NRL is doing. They schedule 2 hours, right? They schedule 2 hours for a 90-minute game, 80-minute halves and 10-minute halftime. They schedule 2 hours for a night, and then there's half an hour of intro, half an hour of discussion afterwards. They're getting to the point now where they don't have enough time to do the intro and outro, and it's gonna continue unless they sort out the stoppages. It's so boring with the stoppages. We just want to let the game flow.
Yeah, and you think Channel 9 would want to do something about it, because that 4 o'clock game, it runs into their 6 o'clock news, and they wouldn't be happy about starting their news late. Their news rates higher than anything else on TV.
Then they obviously have the sponsorship thing. They want to play the sponsors' ads, but that should not be a determiner on how the game flows.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about this. There was a season-high 30 penalties were blown for high tackles last weekend, adding to the 27 that were given in each of the previous 2 rounds. Again, I don't care so much about that. If the penalties are there, they're there. Yeah. We've talked about this before. If the decisions are justifiable according to the rules, well, they're justifiable. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. It's the constant stoppages that bother me. If the penalties are there, they're there. Yeah, you can't take away the penalties. No, if they happen. No, but it's the laying down, the captain's challenges, the bunker calling you back. Yeah, it's not. Again, yeah, you're right. It's not the penalties. It's we've got to stop the clock to go to the bunker. We've got to stop the clock to have a captain's challenge. We've got to stop the clock to look at this incident that the referee already saw, but needs to get some sort of reassurance. We've got to stop the clock because this player might have to go off for a HIA. That all adds up over the course of a game. And it makes it boring. So that's it for the game-based thing, but now we can talk about the media. Yes. Brad Fittler, the 58-year-old married man, Brad Fittler, did an interview with the Fox sisters who won, what did they win? Canoe. And the Olympics. The canoe, kayak, slalom, gold medalists, the Fox sisters. Yeah, he is 52, I'll just point out. But yeah, Brad Fittler. I was close. And during the interview, he said, I'm just waiting for the kiss cam to come on. Yeah. Honestly. Well, basically, Brad Fittler's a clown. Yeah. They were there to talk about their achievements at the Olympics and talk about the fact that they're huge Panthers supporters. That they weren't there for this. It was unprofessional and stupid from Fittler. But people on social media calling him a misogynist, I mean, just settle down, all right? All right, it's silly, it's stupid, it's unprofessional, but it's not misogyny. Come on. I saw someone, it was a comment that I saw that I thought was funny, was it's like when a comedian's joke doesn't work. So you say the reason it didn't work is because it's misogyny or racist or whatever, but in reality it just wasn't funny. Yeah, it's not misogyny. It's not that it's misogynistic or anything. It's just not funny. But you try and find an excuse for why it's not funny because it's so important to be outraged. It's the outrage machine going looking for it again. It's so important to be outraged, it's like a joke that wasn't funny because it wasn't funny. It was a bit dumb, and both of the Fox sisters were like not. They didn't think it was funny. And then Channel 9 had to apologise and all this other thing. And I'll tell you what, you talk about Channel 9. So a 9 spokesperson said Fittler was just being, and I quote, light-hearted, and that his comment was not directed at the Fox sisters. Yeah, I don't think anyone's buying that. It actually was. And so this was the quote from a Channel 9 spokesperson to News Corp. He said, an activation was taking place in the stadium last night with a kiss cam. that was not part of the TV coverage, and Brad's comment related to that activity on the ground. And then they said Brad's comments were not directed to the Fox sisters. No malice was intended and no offence was taken.
Well, it was directed to the Fox sisters because he was talking to them, but no malice was intended.
Yeah, look, I'm not buying that. That's rubbish. We all know that it was directed to them.
Yeah.
But it was... You know, it was. This was not the crime of the century. This was not misogyny. He didn't say I hate them.
Yeah,
he didn't say he hated them. He just said he wanted the kiss cam to come.
I believe that women should be in the kitchen.
Like, come on, he didn't. This was not misogyny. No. Let's not make this something it wasn't.
It was just an unfunny joke, and when there's an unfunny joke made in the media now, people on the internet have to find a reason why it's unfunny that leads them to outrage. Right, that's the most important thing. We have to find the outrage. That wasn't funny, and therefore it was. The reason it wasn't funny is because it was misogyny, and therefore Brad Fittler is a bad guy. Brad Fittler's not a bad guy. He's just not funny.
And I'll tell you what it was so awkward watching it. It was one of the most awkward things that you've seen on TV. I'll tell you what. Yeah, but there was no malice in it, and it was not misogyny.
No,
it was silly. It was unprofessional, but it wasn't misogyny. Come on.
No, it was stupid. And the other media story we have is Paul Kent. Kenty has revealed he's been suffering from Asperger's syndrome. Is it real? I have a big thing on the internet about how self-diagnosed Asperger's is just like it's become a common, popular thing to do. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just go again with this. You go look.
It's alcoholic.
He spent his whole career giving it to people, you know, in these situations, and now that he's the one sort of under the gun here, he seems to be pulling out all stops. You know, he's saying he's got Asperger's syndrome, and you know, like Look, what happened last year, I have sympathy because he was found not guilty in court, right? So with that, I go, right, look, okay, I have it because according to the law, well, he was not guilty. Under our system, you're innocent until proven guilty. So according to the law, he's innocent of what happened last year. So with that, I have sympathy. But with what happened this year, like we all saw it, like he was the instigator of that. And, you know, if you're doing that, well, you're going to get fired. That the same would apply to anybody else. You said it yourself. As soon as it happened, you said, look, I think he's going to get sacked for that. Because anybody would get sacked for that.
If there's a charge, you'll get sacked. And then he gets sacked.
So you sort of go, look, it's hard to have any sympathy here.
But, yeah, that's the thing with, you know... I don't know. He says it's been going on. He's been diagnosed 10 years ago or whatever. I never mentioned it before. It's his right not to mention it. But the thing with it is, it's these convenient excuses come out. You know, like when you're trying to defend, because he's instigating a lawsuit against them for his sacking. So these things come out. Like now the issue is, you know, there's a whole thing about where he was an alcoholic and the media that he's employed didn't take enough care of him when he was an alcoholic. Now I've got Asperger's and you're not accommodating for my mental or my, I don't know, if Asperger's is considered mental or physical illness or whatever, but you're not accommodating for my illness. If he has Asperger's, he's pretty high functioning because he's in the public eye, and you know, it's one of those, Asperger's is one of those things where it's hard to communicate and have cognitive and good language skills. So he's working through his Asperger's pretty well for the last 10 years. And now that he's been sacked, suddenly it's a big thing about him. Like these kind of things, when the media or famous people come out with this, when there's court cases, I really take it with a grain of salt. Like it always seems to me like the lawyer going, "So you've got Asperger's, bro."
And look, I know he was found not guilty in those charges last year. I'm pointing that out very clearly. He was found not guilty, but you would think after he was stood down for that lengthy amount of time, that he would have gone, right, well, I've got to be squeaky clean this year. Can't have anything else go wrong, because if it does, well, I'm going to land myself in some real hot water. And that's what's happened. He's had that incident where he got, you know, where he instigated it and he was thrown into a tree. And then that's what's happened. He's lost his job. And you go, well, that's life, you know.
And you're in the public eye, man. You know that's what's going to happen when you're in the public eye. I wonder what will happen with his court case. whether they'll even bother settling or anything like that because of the history. They can probably win. But
yeah, look, I was just gonna say. Apparently, he's saying that. News Corp states it paid him his salary while he was stood down over the domestic violence allegations, and he had taken long service leave and annual leave for most of that time. And Kent is seeking payment of all entitlements. He says he is owed from May 2023 to January 2024, as well as reinstatement of leave used during that time. So I'm not sure what you make of that, but
they dismissed him before the court case, blah blah blah. But these guys all have like the public.
It's hard to know though, isn't it? He says one thing, they say another thing.
Exactly.
How do we know who's telling the truth?
They can go and play that one out in court. But yeah, like as I said, I just think the main thing with stuff like this is it just seems like whenever these famous people, like I know guys who have gone to court, like not famous people, and their lawyer has told them like, just say you're an alcoholic. Let's put you in rehab. Just to get sympathy. And so when they come out and they say, like, I've had Asperger's for 10 years, like, it comes down to, like, sometimes I just think, like, it's the lawyer going, just say you got Asperger's, because it's a big thing on the internet now, actually. Like, it's cool to have autism. And, like, everyone is, like, it's the J.R. Tolkien, it's in Donnie Darko, J.R. Tolkien said the best combination of words in the English language is cellar door. It's the most beautiful combination of words in the English language. Me, John, says the worst combination of words in the English language is self-diagnosed.
Yeah.
That's the internet these days. Self-diagnosed autism, self-diagnosed Asperger's, self-diagnosed ADHD, ODD, whatever other spectrum stuff is on. And so I take it with a grain of salt.
And the thing about Paul Kent is, he, as you said, he may come back in a couple of years, come back into the fold in the rugby league media. But how does he now go back to being that head kicker, having a go at people's indiscretions?
He can't.
When he's now got himself into this situation.
He can't. Everything he's ever said is now hypocrisy. So that's it for rugby league.
Yes.
We'll see what happens this week, and then we'll get the finals update. But it looks like the Bulldogs, I think, will end up fifth. So next week we'll also go through our predicted top 8 from the beginning of the year.
Oh, that's going to be funny.
Yeah.
I also I think Craig Gower has really he had a really good week in the tipping last week. I think he might have now hit the front. I had a terrible week, unfortunately. Craig Gower went for a bunch of outsiders who got up, so well done to him.
I tipped Manly. Me and him tipped Manly, but Piercy tipped the Eels.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
I think there are a couple of other games where maybe you and Gower picked the outsiders, but I'm not. I just think he had a really good week.
Yeah, so week. We'll give an update on the next week. We'll also give an update on the regular season.
So the tipping, does the expert tips and the tipping they go all the way through?
Yeah, all the way through the grand final.
Okay.
Yeah. In one of my competitions I'm in, I'm like being 1 point difference. Me in second place, so I'm really hoping it doesn't go down to the grand final, because that's so just like Brad Fittler in the NRL, the AFL has had a commentator perhaps using some incorrect words,
who has not been subjected to the same scrutiny as Brad Fittler, might I add.
Because it's a woman. I'm a misogynist. No, so she was talking about one of the AFLW people having a good vertical leap, being good at all athletics, and then said, I always thought she was black. Awkward.
Yeah, so I'll put this into a bit of context. So, veteran commentator Kelly Underwood was on air with former AFLW champion Kirby Bentley. Now, Kirby Bentley, I believe, is a woman of colour. I think that's the politically correct way of saying it.
I don't know.
So what happened was they were talking about Ashley Brazil, the Fremantle veteran player. Now, Bentley was talking about Brazil and said her vertical leap was second to none. I thought she was black. That was the quote from Bentley.
Awkward.
Now, Kelly Underwood and Bentley just had a laugh about this, and Bentley then clarified, look, that's a compliment. Now, If a white male had made this comment, they would have been sacked on the spot. On the spot, never to work again.
If Brad Fittler had made that comment, he would have been gone.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So swap those situations. Brad Fittler says, I thought Zach Lomax was black. And whatever her name is from the AFLW said to two of the boys, I'm just waiting for the kiss cam. You know what would have happened. I know it's conjecture, but you know what would have happened. Brad Fittler would have been sacked, and the AFL woman everyone would have been like, look how strong she is.
Yeah.
I didn't. It's just I thought it was just another one of those jokes that fell flat. But the people around her thought it was funny.
Yeah, look, I'm just saying that if a white male makes the same comment, he's gone and he never works in the media again, ever. It was
a poor choice of words, and some people are defending her and some people are criticising her, and that's again it's so stupid because it just comes down to the fact that if Brad Fittler had said it, he would have been sacked, and I hate hypocrisy. That's the thing. I just hate hypocrisy. So. It wasn't. I don't think it was funny. It was just another joke that fell flat. But because she's a woman, a lot of women are defending her on the internet. Seriously, it's just dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was worth.
Yeah, it's not. But you also got to remember, it's not covered that much in the news because it is the AFL, and the AFL stops people.
Yeah, and they're the best at burying bad publicity.
So the US Open,
Demonor's
through 6 love, 3-6, 6-3, 7-5.
Yeah,
that's knocked Jordan Thompson out of the
US Open. Yeah, so well done to Alex Demonor winning that all Aussie fourth round clash with Jordan Thompson. So he will now meet Britain's Jack Draper in the quarterfinals. So well done to Demonor there.
25th ranked Jack Draper.
Yes, so hopefully Demonor can get through to a semi-final. Wouldn't that be huge? Now, some other results. Alexei Popyrin amazingly beat Novak Djokovic in the third round of this tournament.
Yeah.
And that marks the first time since 2002, can you believe it, that the big three haven't won a major in a calendar year. Of course, 2002, that was when Leighton Hewitt won Wimbledon. That was the last year where the big three didn't win a major. So that's how far back we have to go for that. Now, unfortunately, Popyrin lost in 4 sets to Francis Tiafoe in the fourth round. You'd have to think he just had a mental letdown after taking Djokovic out.
Yeah, sometimes when you, as a sports person, that massive win is your win.
Yeah.
And you can't get back up because the massive win was the win.
Yeah, and Tiafoe is not an opponent you'd want to come up against after a win like that, exactly. A very difficult opponent. Now, also, Chris O'Connell made the third round and lost to Yannick Sinner in straight sets.
You mean drug cheat?
Yeah, so some really good efforts from the Australians at this event. So that match between Demonor and Thompson, that was the first time in 31 years 2 Australians went head-to-head in a US Open men's singles fourth round match. Demonor, in making the fourth round, became the first Australian since Leighton Hewitt in 2004 to reach the last 16 at all 4 majors in the same season. Well done to Demonor, showing a lot of consistency.
Oh God, don't die.
Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me.
If you die, I'm just sweeping you out the door and turning off the lights. Just
I nearly made it through here without coughing. Amazing. There was another shock result. Carlos Alcaraz lost in straight sets to Botic van der Zandschulp in the second round. Can you believe it? That was after Alcaraz won the French Open and Wimbledon titles back-to-back this year. So a huge win for van der Zandschulp. I don't know a lot about him, but well done to him.
Yeah, so is he still in it or is he gone?
I will check that for you right now. Van der Zandschulp. No, he actually lost to Jack Draper. There you go, coincidentally, in straight sets in the third round. So the same thing happened to Van der Zandschulp that happened to Popyrin. Took out the big name. He took Alcaraz out, lost in the next round. Like Popyrin took Djokovic out and then lost to Tiafoe in the next round.
It is hard. You get that big win and then you're getting up next over someone easier. It's not like you overestimate yourself. It's just like it's so emotional to have beaten someone like Djokovic. Getting up again the next day or the next couple of days over someone who's lesser is actually quite hard. Especially
for players who are not used to, going deep in these tournaments and who neither Popper nor Van der Zandschulp have won a major, so they've never won majors. They're not used to going deep in majors. So I think it's especially an issue for those players. Very hard to have wins like that and back them up only a couple of days later. Very hard mentally to do
100%. That. De Minaur's through. Hopefully he can get through Draper.
Yes. And we will talk about, by the time we're on next week, we will know who's won the US Open.
De Minaur. Or drug cheat Yannick Sinner against De Minaur, which means De Minaur actually won. The Paralympics is still going on. It's been quite a event. Australia's going very well. They won a bunch of medals last night.
Yes, Australia at 6th on the medal tally with 8 gold, 9 silver and 12 bronze. So well done to the Aussies there in Paris, doing us all very proud.
I've been watching the archery. It's lit, man. Like, it's so good, all the Paralympians being able to do the archery.
Awesome. Channel 9, it's good to see. I was critical of Channel 9's Olympics coverage. I mean, they did butcher that. But it is good to see they're giving the Paralympics a lot of airtime. I've got to give them credit for that.
It is really cool to watch, actually.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. We talked about Vic's comments and the social media blower-uppers.
Yes.
Had some other stupid ones, one making fun of Mitchell Pearce, but we got that one was actually deleted. On to housekeeping. Don't forget to follow at SmartB app on social media, all social medias, and Optimum CBD for all your CBD needs.
I'll be getting onto that, I think. Much needed for me.
Great for your sleep, great for your recovery. Gummies in the morning and oils at night. Cool, man. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, John. See you
Bye,
next
everybody.
week.
Bye, producer chairs.